The mind, it's so fascinating, isn't it? How we each navigate our world, shaping our experiences and beliefs. Well, this is where things get truly interesting, because there's this idea that perhaps everything you experience, it isn't the world itself, but it's simply your map of it. So imagine for a moment, you have a map of your surroundings. A map is not the same as the territory that it represents. This map, your perception, is just a representation, a reflection. It's not the actual world. It's what you think the world is. Isn't that amazing? And sometimes, the mind can get so caught up in its own map, thinking it's the reality. But it's not. So what happens when we start to think it's true? So true, it feels like it's universal, like it's everywhere, all the time. For example, imagine someone says, "This place is terrible." Well, is it really terrible? Is it terrible for everyone? Or just that person? And in that moment, in that place, you might ask, who says that? According to whom? And just by asking these questions, it brings that statement back to where it was created. By a specific person, in a specific place, at a specific time. Suddenly, it's no longer this floating universal truth. It's just someone's opinion, at a certain point in time, in a certain context. You know what happens next, right? When you ask these questions, the feelings shift. You start to tie down the abstract judgment, the floating reality, to a specific moment, a specific circumstance, and specific people. It's no longer this general, unshakable truth. It becomes more manageable, more grounded. Now this is where it gets even more exciting. You see, when people make judgments or value statements, they're often not aware of the scope of what they're saying. They might say, "This is the worst day ever." But is that true for every day and all times? Or is it just this day, in this moment? What's the scope of the statement? Because without specifying the scope, without saying on this particular day, at this moment, our nervous system, it often takes it as being universal. It's as though the mind believes it's true all of the time, forever. And when we feel something strongly, whether it's about the past, the present, or the future, the feelings, they're happening right now. They're part of our present moment experience. They belong to the present. So imagine this. You hear someone say, "Nobody understands me." To see how powerful this statement is. It can seem like a deep universal truth, can't it? But what happens if you ask, who says that? Or according to whom? Suddenly you might discover someone has said that at one point in time, but that doesn't apply to everyone or every time. In fact, it's very possible that right in this moment, there are plenty of people who understand them perfectly well. It's all about narrowing down the scope, and then you can change everything. So let's play with this a little more. Ever heard someone say, "It's just that," or "It's only this"? Now think about this. When they say "only," they're implicitly limiting the scope of what they're talking about. It's exclusive. It's like they're saying, "This is the only thing that matters." When they say "just that," they're doing the same, narrowing things down, limiting what they're considering, and excluding everything else. Now here's the really fun part. When someone says something like, "Everybody feels this way," they're making a universal statement. But if you could show them just one example where not everyone feels the same, you've already cracked the universality of their claim. Just one little counterexample and suddenly their world opens up. Oh, maybe not everyone feels that way, they'll realise. So instead of treating everything as though it's true for everyone, you might simply ask, well, when does that happen? Where does that happen? Under what circumstances? And you can shift their perception, breaking down the universality of their belief. And there's this incredible secret that you're probably already starting to notice. The unconscious mind, it doesn't really differentiate between past, present, or future. The feelings you experience right now, whether you're recalling a memory or imagining a future scenario, they're all happening in your present moment. If you think about an event that happened a year ago, your body responds as though it's happening right now. If you imagine something that's going to happen in the future, your mind reacts as though it's in the present. So when someone says something like, "This has always been the case," they're actually anchoring that thought to the now. But by asking the right questions, you can help them to see it differently. You can even help them to see what they're feeling or thinking belongs in the present, not locked in the past or the future. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't have to work that hard to change how they see things. Just by being aware of the language that they use, you can simply help them shift the map of their reality. It's almost like the moment you notice these patterns, you can gently guide someone's thoughts from something universal, something that feels unchangeable, into a specific, manageable context. And when they see it that way, they might feel the shift. Their perception will open up. And that is when transformation happens. Because after all, everything they experience, everything you experience, is just a map, a reflection of the world, not the world itself. And once you realise that, there's an endless possibility for change and growth. It's like a key to unlocking a door to all kinds of new ways of thinking, feeling and living.